I'd like to write a book, but I don't think it'll be a bestseller or even win the Booker Prize, so what's the point? I'd like to help people, but it's not like I'm solving the food distribution problem around the world, and I don't have a PhD in economics, public policy, or social work, so why even bother? I'd like to play the electric guitar, but I'm never going to be as good as that 8-year-old child prodigy I saw on YouTube. It's probably too late for me. I'd like to start my own YouTube channel, but I'm not a known personality yet, and I don't have videography skills to make cinematic film, so I'm just going to be making a fool of myself in front of everybody, aren't I? Perfectionism, from the way I've understood it, is basically this desire or this need to want to be able to do everything that one does to perfection, absolutely perfectly. And in the process, being excessively self-critical about ourselves and thinking way too much about other people's opinions. So when I was in college and practicing for job interviews with my friends, we would ask each other some behavioral questions for our mock interviews, right? And one of the questions we would often ask each other, the more cliched one, was, well, what's your biggest weakness? And it would always happen that somebody would make the joke just to lighten up the mood that, oh my god, my biggest weakness is perfectionism. Because, oh my gosh, I just simply can't do anything just not perfectly, you know? Like, I have to give everything my 110%, otherwise I just won't do it. I have such strong attention to detail, like, oh my god, that's such a problem. That's such a fault of mine. Oh, I can't believe I'm a perfectionist. Oh my god. Looking back at that joke now, I realized that the joke wasn't even really accurate at all because it completely misunderstood the meaning of perfectionism. And also, perfectionism truly was actually one of my biggest weaknesses, not in a professional sense, but definitely from a personal and self-development lens. Anytime I wanted to do something, I would always dream up what it would be to do that thing absolutely perfectly. But instead of that perfect thing kind of motivating me to continue doing something or starting something, instead it would actually be very daunting. The perfect thing would make me feel like right now I just didn't have the time to invest to get there to be that perfect. I didn't have the kind of money that I needed to be that perfect. Or I just didn't have the innate talent. So I was sort of not that lucky person who just could grab something and just do it perfectly from the get-go. This would then actually proceed to get internalized as feelings of lack of self-worth, lowered self-esteem, and just generally a displeasure with my current situation. Perfectionism isn't doing things perfectly, it's the want to do things perfectly, and then in the process just never doing the thing itself, because for you it's only worth doing something if you do it perfectly, and if you can't, you won't even try. So thinking about this more, I think I kind of realized there are three main problems with perfectionism. One, it makes you just never try something if you don't think you can do it perfectly. Two, you develop this dysfunctional idea that it's only worth doing things if you can do them perfectly, otherwise it's simply not worth it. And number three, it really does affect your self-esteem and also prioritizes other people's opinions and makes you think that if you don't execute something perfectly, other people will heavily judge you for it, and also that judgment will really impact you in your life. Okay, so reflecting over basically my experiences so far since childhood, I was kind of thinking about, well, how did this whole perfectionism thing even kind of become a part of my subconscious? How was I subconsciously thinking about the perfect thing and getting daunted by the idea sometimes, and just thinking generally that it's only worth doing something if you could do it perfectly? And as with everything else in the world and all of our thoughts and frameworks and the way we judge everything, like it's all kind of comes from different kinds of experiences we've had in the past. And so in my case, I think, at least how I'm hypothesizing it right now, is obviously it came from childhood experiences I've had. And this part is gonna maybe sound a bit like I'm showing off or something in a weird backhanded way, but I promise you I'm not. And actually, I think because a lot of the people who watch my videos right now are people in my life who've also been through similar experiences, I think you actually might be able to connect with this. So I grew up in a super competitive environment back in India in this really huge high school. And I knew that I really just wanted to go to a top university, a top program in the US after I graduated. And to be able to go into a top program, I basically had to really shine in a certain kind of way and to show my best to these different universities through my application, through my resume, through all of these things. This meant that I had to be very careful about the way that I was spending my time, the activities I was engaging in, because it only made sense to engage in something if I could really be the best at it, or be very close to the best and show to the world, or really just the application committee, the admissions committee in a college, that yeah, this guy knows what he's doing and he's doing it at the best possible level. Again, so back then things were only worth doing if I could be perfect doing them, or at least be the best in my vicinity at doing something. If I was doing anything just for fun or purely just for like exploration purposes, that was literally a waste of time in this aspect. Things we do for fun, things we just do just for pleasure and for our own interests, things that involve exploration, and there's no kind of pressure of being competitive and things like that. Those things are like small little parts of your resume, 2 or 3 words at the very bottom under passions and interests. And if you're lucky, somebody will glance at that, if you're lucky. What people really want to see are grades, competitions, ranks, very standard respect to everybody else, different awards, things like that. Nobody's going to really enjoy the fact that, oh my god, in your free time you like walking around in a forest and reflect over life. Like, that's not considered valuable at all to other people. As a kid in high school then, applying to top programs in the US, what this looked like for me then was that I had to kind of give up certain kinds of things I used to do just for fun, or if I didn't have a strong chance at really becoming the very best at it. So this involved, playing squash, because I wasn't going to become a nationally ranked player because I didn't have the kind of time to do that intense training. I also had to kind of make sure that guitar took kind of a back seat at one point, because I had to use that time to focus on my academics instead, because I wasn't going to graduate high school having passed the highest qualification for guitar playing, because I just started a little bit late in that process. Instead, I really just focused on my academics. I almost maxed out my SATs. I basically taught my class in my junior year of high school. I joined debate and Model UN because I knew that would kind of propel me into a good position in school, making me president student council, things like that. So I was being very strategic about where I was investing my time. And I wasn't really doing anything just for fun. It was all for placing me in a certain place that I wanted to be. Now, this strategy obviously worked very well to get me to the school I wanted to go to the program that I wanted to go to. I got into the top program that I wanted to be in. And it was a good strategy for that very specific purpose, but now I've realized that it wasn't a really good life philosophy. As a philosophy, it constantly keeps centering productivity and rank in association with other people, but it never really centers joy at all. You might be lucky that things you rank in and things you're productive in and really good at naturally are things that you also find bring you joy, but those things aren't necessarily one and the same. Where I am in my life right now, I've realized that I just don't want to do things because I have a potential of being perfect at that thing, but rather I want to do them because I get happiness and joy from doing that thing. And if I do get joy and happiness from doing that thing, then as I keep doing it, I will obviously keep getting better, but also I'll keep enjoying the thing that I'm doing every step of the way, and I won't become impatient to become perfect at that thing, because every part of the process is enjoyable. I think for a lot of us, when we come from very competitive places or have had to compete a lot for certain kinds of things, we can subconsciously think that, or begin to think that things are only again worth doing if we can absolutely beat everybody else, and only then does it make it worth our time. When in fact, that's just a very artificial kind of philosophy that only works in very structured kind of environment where you're constantly being pitched against other people. But then when you kind of graduate from college or graduate from high school or things like that, you're kind of competing with the whole world in a way, and with a lot of different kinds of people, and you kind of have to just make your own brand. So you might as well just do the things, I think, that really are fulfilling for you, not just because you're going to be the best at it. So going back to those questions earlier, so why should I write that book? I think I should simply write that book, or whatever book I want to write, because it's a very unique experience that not many people have had, but must be a very, very unique experience in itself, to actually sit down, write a long book, and go through the whole process of it. Maybe I just have some stories I want to tell and share with the world, a longer kind of journey I want to go on and I want to pen down. That's a good enough reason. Why should I do small acts of community service if I'm not going to contribute to basically solving the whole problem of poverty or food sovereignty? Because impact doesn't have to be world-shattering. You don't have to be the top of a certain kind of volunteer service for it to be valuable. I think we have to reorient our thinking there, and even realize that even if you change 1 or 2 lives in a certain kind of way at all, that's a massive impact, more than most people even think about doing. Why should I play the guitar when there's an 8-year-old kid already kicking my at it online? Well, because playing the guitar is just so much fun, and it would be so nice to just jam to some music one day and just be able to do that on the fly. That's awesome. And you'll also be a part of a really cool musical community through it. Why should I make a YouTube channel if I'm not going to have a huge following from the beginning? Well, because it's really fun to pen down your thoughts and to be accountable to your thoughts, because you make them in a way you have to explain it to other people. And also, it's cool to be able to then put down your thoughts, present them, and then move on to the next idea, rather than just mulling over the same thing for a while. These are all valuable things, and none of them involve being perfect or becoming perfect in any of those things. I think in general, through this whole process, what I've learned is that yes, like there is definitely a place for being perfect at something and trying your best and becoming the best at something in certain kinds of ways because of the way our application system and the way that we value people is currently structured. But at the end of the day, I think it's super important to be able to do things and value things simply because they bring us a lot of joy. And I say simply, but actually it's a very profound feeling that actually I think is very fulfilling and satisfying, more satisfying than any kind of perfection I think will ever be. We don't always have to be competing against each other for every small little thing. We can just be doing things purely for ourselves to have fun. Alright you guys, that's basically all I had to share for this video on perfectionism. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope something resonated with you or there was something that you really want to challenge. I'm down for all of those things. These are all my thoughts and opinions as of this video. They're not set in stone and they're definitely not perfect. I hope that if you watched this whole video that it made you think a little bit more deeply about something, maybe even realize you also had a challenge with perfectionism without even realizing you did. I mean, I didn't know the perfectionism was a problem for me until just a couple months ago, and then I decided to make this whole video about it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up because that's really motivating for me. Subscribe to my channel if you think you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it. And share this video with somebody if you think they're going to really enjoy it too, or just make them think a little bit about something that you've liked. Alright, well again, thanks for watching and I'll see you all next time.